Hey everyone, welcome to another Evolve on Demand webinar. My name is Cass, and we are here with a very special guest from BIMTM. Please welcome Donnie Bogle-Boesiger. Donnie is an operations director at BIMTM. So we're going to go through a great topic today called BIM Preconstruction Checklist. And there's so many great details that you have prepared for us, Donnie. So Donnie, take it away. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Cass. So today, as Cass mentioned, we'll be talking about BIM pre-construction. So when you're implementing BIM, just thinking about how you have your first BIM project that comes through with BIM requirements. What does this look like? Even if you're a seasoned BIM professional, a lot of times it's easy to forget how to plan for BIM within the pre-construction setting in order to ensure that you're covered for the project to come. So paired with this presentation, there's a couple downloadable goodies. So check the description in the video to get those downloadable items. So away we go. So why does pre-construction matter? Pre-construction sets the foundation for the success of the project. So as an estimate or a bid is getting put together, ensuring that a company is covered and sets up the project team for success later in the project. So it's a little more straightforward on the normal construction side. I'll put that in quotes. But with oftentimes BIM is overlooked because pre-construction managers just don't know about about BIM requirements. They might not understand the technical words that are being used in the specifications, and they that's not what they do on a day-to-day basis. So today we're going to be dumbing down those requirements in order for everyone to understand and have intelligent conversations in that pre-construction phase. So here is the checklist. The first group of items is general project information. So just like you normally would putting together an estimate, review the full RFP and contract documents. Understand the BIM execution plan. So what is a BIM execution plan? BIM execution plan outlines all of the rules of engagement through a BIM project. So this stages from naming convention and contact information for different team members to modeling requirements and meeting duration and frequency throughout the process, as well as like file naming convention, origin, really technical stuff that generally you don't, that in this stage of the project isn't that important, but it will be down the line. So really what we're focusing on with this BIM execution plan at this stage is model requirements and schedule as well. We'll get into schedule in a little bit, but the understanding those modeling requirements intricately and how the general contractor plans on using those is really important. With that BIM coordination schedule, reviewing that if a coordination schedule isn't provided during the pre-construction phase, understanding what the timeline is for construction. So BIM coordination schedule supports the construction schedule, and so if the project is starting tomorrow, then we're already behind from a BIM perspective. And so understanding what that process looks like in order to get caught up is a good conversation to have with your general contractor. Or if the project doesn't start for another 6-7 months, you have a lot of really good opportunity to get some good planning set up through this BIM process in order to execute the project. So project delivery also really affects how BIM is used on a particular project. So in general, this isn't all the project delivery types, but generally speaking, these are the three that most projects are going to fall in. So design, bid, build, spec project, plan spec project, however you want to put it. There's a very clear delineation between where the design ends and where construction starts. So typically within these projects, there's a design model that's provided to the contractors in order or for reference, and that just helps tie the contract documents to modeled components. Design assist. They're murky waters, I'll say. It's a famously gray line between where design BIM ends and where construction BIM starts. So I'd say just unless there's a very clear responsibility matrix that's provided by the general contractor, this is a great conversation because things can get out of hand pretty quickly. I've seen zero BIM involvement in design assist projects. I've seen contractors working in the same model as the design team as well. So there's a wide range of involvement for these design assist projects. So asking for clarification and make sure that you are covered for the BIM scope for design assist projects. Design build, again, it gets a little more clear once you're on the design build side because you own it all. You're using the model to hopefully using the model to create contract documents, and then transition those contract documents into the construction coordination with the general contractor. So the big thing to understand here is, what does the architect want to see as design progresses? Are they okay if your internal practices are 2D CAD to create contract documents? Does the architect want to see that design progress reflected in the model? If so, how are you going to accomplish that? Is that going to be in-house? Are you going to be trying your design your design drawings through Revit or other 3D methods, or are you kind of running tangentially with a duplicate workflow between 2D CAD and a 3D workflow? Highly recommend the first one, just to eliminate any duplication of work. So BIM requirements review. This is getting back to the BIM execution plan. So some items to review within this: who's leading the BIM coordination process? Some general contractors run it internally or outsource it. Either way, I would consider that a GC-led process, or in some general contractors outsource it to trade partners. So a lot of times this ends up in the mechanical contractor's court because they're taking the most space, but they is that general contractor asking for trade-led participation in that? What coordination platform are they using? A couple common ones are Procore or Autodesk Construction Cloud. And do you have the appropriate licensing in place in order to access those particular platforms? This is a relatively low cost. We're talking at most about $1,000 a year per person, but something that should be considered. Some projects have a requirement on what authoring software is used. So when I say authoring software, is what are you actually using to model those components? Some folks have workflows, and their internal practices are AutoCAD, are 3D AutoCAD, but then there's projects that require Revit be used as an authoring software. So is this one of those projects that requires a specific software or authoring software to be used? And does that kind of shuffle up your internal best practices at all? At the end of the project, there is another place that varies widely from general contractor to contractor, is that as-built process, and it kind of pairs with the facility management. So how is when you're handing this model over to the client at the end of the project, what is it being used for? There are some owners that, excuse me, that use these models for facility management, and they build asset data into it, in order to manage their facilities. So um, if that's occurring on this project, what are the requirements for the trade partners, um, to get to that point? This is a common BIM requirement for federal government work these days, I've been seeing, um, as well as some other sophisticated clients. So LOD and deliverables. What does LOD mean? So LOD is level of development. So it's an industry standard. I put that in quotes because there's multiple standards that are written out there. There's not one that's being used, that's gospel throughout the industry at this point. But there are multiple multiple organizations that are building a standard for level of development. The one that I most commonly use is BIM Forum. We'll put there'll be two documents that are in the downloads link. One is the LOD sandwich. BIMTM has put this together. It puts this level of development conversation into a very approachable light. The second one is that BIM Forum standard, and it's a very visual. It allows you to physically see what the differences between the different levels of development. The main thing that you're going to see as far as modeling requirements through this or within your BIM execution plans that you see on projects are hangers and supports. So some while simpler or smaller projects might not require hangers and supports be used. More complex, larger projects are likely going to require hangers and supports be modeled. So there's a lot that goes into that, and it increases the cost associated with modeling and coordination and detailing, pretty significantly if you're modeling hangers versus not modeling hangers. The other thing is, what deliverables does the GC require within this coordination process? Some standards for these deliverables are structural penetration drawings. These often get brought into a combined set of drawings between all of the MEP trades and submitted to the structural engineer. While penetrations are generally coordinated during the design phase, this gives the design team a chance to see a coordinated set of penetrations that are going out there. This is huge, and particularly when we're talking about a post-tension structure, and getting all of those penetrations coordinated with the concrete reinforcement, and the PT contractor, or precast, also very important there. Coordinated install drawings and point load drawings. So point load drawings are also another one of those time suck workflows. It's taking everything that's modeled, assigning a weight per linear foot, and then translating that to the supports that are modeled, back up to structure in order to get the loads imposed back to whatever system you're hanging from. I've seen these requirements on warehouse projects with particularly with open joist construction, or within clean room construction. There's where the MEPs are running underneath the insulated metal panel and envelope within the for creating the clean rooms. So there's loads imposed that the MEPs are putting back onto that insulated metal panel system, and then they take those, translate them back up to the structure for structural engineer review. So understanding what the GC is requiring within that environment is very important. Not all of us are lucky enough to work in new construction all the time. So when you have a renovation or addition project that's a part that has BIM requirements, there are things can get out of control pretty quickly with the BIM scope. So so make sure that you're asking some of these questions in the pre-construction phase. So a process that happens within utilizing BIM for renovations is laser scanning. So what a laser scanner is it's a device, it's a measuring device at its core, that takes millions of measurements every second around it, and then turns those measurements into points, those points into what's called a point cloud, which represents an accurate three-dimensional model of the space around it. So that point cloud can then be brought into the modeling space that's being used for BIM coordination, and coordinated around, clashed against all this good stuff. So even with the point cloud, there are some general contractors that are going to require some modeling of existing conditions, existing to remain specifically, in order to coordinate around those items, and then understanding if that's happening, or is there a design model that's been taking about their best stab at existing conditions. And then another question to ask is how are we coordinating with existing architecture and structure? So that laser scanning is a great approach to coordinating with existing architecture and structure, existing to remain, I should say. But if that laser scanning isn't occurring, what does that process look like? That can increase the involvement of your field team going out and taking measurements, translating that back to the BIM team. It gets a little muddy. So I think that's it on existing conditions. So that covers all of the general contractor requirements on a project. There are conditions on a project that go above and beyond what the general requirement or the general contractor is asking for, though. So that conversation is about internal goals. So a lot of forward-thinking MEP contractors out there say, this general contractor is making me go through these BIM all of these stringent BIM requirements. I'm going to use that data, that coordinated data within the model in order to benefit my operations now. So some benefits of that are prefabrication and layout. So identifying what elements that you want to prefab within the project, and and then incorporating any deliverables that are needed from your BIM team in order to get to that point. So if you're doing supports or versus entire conduit racks, for example, very different process and from the BIM side. Or even in-wall rough-ins for electrical components, very different. The next one is layout. So if you've coordinated all of your supports to date within the model, then you have points for all the supports going back to structure. Your team can go out there with a robotic total station or RTS, and with all of those points from the coordinated BIM from the BIM coordination process, sorry, and translating those into the field. So then those can get translated up to structure, and in order to aid your layout, get those tape measures out of your field team's hands. Layout also can impact layout and means and methods for hangar installation can also impact BIM coordination schedule. So your metal deck construction is fairly common. Concrete on metal deck construction is fairly common, I should say. So a lot of contractors like to get those anchors in pre-installed, but prior to the concrete pour. So if that's a goal for the project, then having conversations with your general contractor in order to ensure that the coordination schedule and the construction schedule are jiving with that concept. You have to be pretty much done coordinating prior to setting those anchors in order for that to happen. So if you think about construction sequencing, that's really early in the project. You're essentially coordinated while steel is getting erected. While there's a ton of advantages that come out of that pre-installing those anchors, it's a lot to ask from the coordination team as well. So understanding what's locked in the model at that point in the project versus what isn't, and maybe there's a blended approach there as well. Lastly, how are you staffing this project? Do you have enough resources internally in order to run the BIM coordination effort, or do you have to have a conversation with a third party to supplement or maybe even run the project as a whole? So coordinating your internal resources with that BIM coordination schedule during this time is critical. Obviously, or maybe not obviously, there tends to be a cost premium to getting a quality third-party vendor for BIM services on your project opposed to internal resources. So having that conversation prior to submitting your bid is important. So some items to watch out for. The biggest thing is just unclear expectations during the pre-construction effort. If there's just a single line item in your bid package that you receive that says BIM coordination, big red flag. What does BIM coordination mean to that particular general contractor? What LOD are you bringing it to? All of this checklist is completely unfilled in order to get to that point. There's a lot of assumptions that can be made within there in order to get to a placeholder essentially. But I would challenge the general contractor to for more information if I just saw a single line item that said BIM coordination for a project. So that concludes our walk through our pre-construction checklist. I thank you for listening. I hope that you learned something through this. Again, download the full checklist and some LOD resources in the description within this video. And stay tuned for the next one, where we're going to be talking about your first BIM project. So you just won your first BIM your project with your first BIM requirements. Now, how do I start executing on that and take this foundation that we built in pre-construction and build and continue to build on that success? Thank you.